All right. Thanks for joining us. Senator Stabenow and Murphy also, thank them for being here. Now, we just came from a very productive lunch where we talked about the, quote, emergency at the southern border, unquote, as you'll see there. This is, quote, emergency at the southern border. That's what our Republican colleagues call it. Now, three things are true about the southern border. One, status quo cannot continue. Two, Democrats want Congress to take action. Three, the only way we solve this issue is with real bipartisan action, not partisan talk and finger-pointing. Instead of just grandstanding, making loud complaints and finger-pointing, Democrats want to get something done. Democrats, led by my friend Senator Murphy, who you'll hear from shortly, showed we are serious about border security when we work with Republicans to write the strongest border security bill in a whole generation, to hire more border agents and asylum officers, and enhance drug enforcement, fix asylum. We had the strongest border security bill in decades ready to go here in the Senate until Donald Trump killed it to keep the issue alive on the campaign trail. He said, blame it on me. Remember he did that when we talked about shutting down the government with Pelosi and I? It didn't end too well for him. This one isn't either. Our bill would have added more than 1,500 new Customs and Border Protection personnel, 4,300 asylum officers. It's a bill Democrats and Republicans spent months negotiating and fine-tuning and revising. Unlike the vast majority of bills in Congress that are dubbed border security, this was not a messaging bill. It was a product of months of bipartisan negotiations led by Chris Murphy and two others. And it was written with the goal of reaching the president's desk, of becoming a law. A bill supported by the people who know, maybe better than anybody, what it takes to take border security. The National Border Patrol Council endorsed this bill. They're very conservative. Their president called our bill a step in the right direction and, quote, far better than the current status quo. Donald Trump's sabotage of the strongest border bill in decades just for political gain is disgusting, appalling, and the Senate Democrats following suit all are enabling him to keep the border in chaos. So this, quote, emergency is a ruse for the Republicans. It's not an emergency. For them, it's political theater at the stake of our country. Still, Democrats have not walked away from the debate. We want to secure the border. It's going to take bipartisan action from Congress. Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you, Senator Schumer. It's great to be here with you and Senator Murphy. On April 2nd of this year, Donald Trump came to Grand Rapids, Michigan, lamenting what was happening at the border, and he used the tragic death of a young woman in a domestic violence case to politicize what's happening at the border. While he lied and said he had met with the woman's family, and he had not, he was more than willing to exploit her death for his own politics instead of supporting the strongest bipartisan border bill in decades. 98 days ago, Republicans had the chance to put action behind their words, protect our national security, and effectively address the problems at the border. 98 days ago, they killed the bill. We all know why. Donald Trump told them to. Democrats want to solve the challenges at the border and give the Biden administration additional tools to solve them, and that's exactly what this strong bipartisan legislation would do. It would fix our broken asylum system. It would give the president the emergency powers to manage the border. It would boost funding for our border agents and officers so they have the tools they need, both at the southern and northern border. And it would make our communities safer by stopping the flow of deadly fentanyl into our country. Our Republican colleagues said they wanted to come together to get a strong border bill. That's exactly what was done. That is exactly what was proposed and put on the floor. They say they want to solve the problems at the border. Their actions say otherwise. It is past time for them to join us and get this done.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. Thank you, Senator Stabenow. For 4.5 months, I sat in a room with Senator Lankford, Senator Sinema, representatives of Senator McConnell and Senator Graham. Many of those meetings happened in a room just around the corner as we negotiated the toughest, most serious bipartisan border security bill in a generation. This was not window dressing. These were real, fundamental changes that would allow the President of the United States to get the border under control. An ability to shut down the border to asylum crossings during periods of high transit. A fundamental reform of the asylum processing system so that no one stays in this country for 10 years while their case is being processed. Instead, we get those cases done in a matter of months. And raising the standard to apply for asylum, raising the credible fear standard to make sure that only the most deserving cases are entering the country. At the same time, we opened up legal pathways of immigration, the biggest expansion of family and worker visas in a generation as well. On Sunday night, when we unveiled that bill, there were 30 or 35 Republicans who were in play. 24 hours later, there were 4. There's one answer for why that happened. Donald Trump told the Republican Party that he would be better off this November if the border was a mess. His people looked at that bill, came to the conclusion that it would have allowed the president to get the border under control, and Republicans turned against it. If Republicans think this situation at the border is an emergency, then let's give them another chance to do the right thing. Many of them, for instance, thought that the House might produce a better product, a different bipartisan approach. Well, that didn't happen. This bill is the only and most significant bipartisan deal on the table. And so I haven't been shy about sharing my opinion with Senator Schumer. I think we should bring this bill back up for a vote. Let's see if Republicans have decided to do the right thing for the country instead of doing the right thing for President Trump. This is a popular bill. It's a bill that would make a difference. And my hope, my recommendation is that we will give Republicans another chance to put their votes where their mouth is. Do Republicans just care about the border as a political wedge issue that they can beat President Biden over the head with, or do they actually want to solve the problem? Because we have a bill written by conservative Republicans in the Senate that would solve the problem.
Okay, questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Bolton.
New York Times Santa College poll showed Biden trailing Trump in 5 of 6 battleground states, down to Trump double digits in Nevada. What do Democrats need to do to prevent the president from weighing Senate Democratic candidates down in these battlegrounds?
Look, if you look at the same polls, number one, all in the 4 battleground states they tested, every one of our Democrats was ahead. And that's because our Democrats are great candidates. Every week they are implementing the great work we did in 2022, 2021, 2023. Furthermore, as the election gets closer and closer and people realize the stakes in America, the good things that Joe Biden has done for them, the horrible things that Trump will do to them, Biden's going to win those states. Yes.
Can you clarify your comments about her rate reform package? Manchin said your comments are taken out of context by being virtually impossible.
Look, the bottom line is I'm very proud of what FERC did and how I worked with FERC to get transmitting done. Because if you have all this solar and wind and up in Canada, hydro energy, and you can't get it to the people who need it, it's not going to do much good. And Republicans had blocked the transmission bill. So we had no choice but to go to FERC. As for permitting, which is somewhat different, the bottom line is it's going to be very, very difficult to get it done with Republicans in the Senate and the House. Very, very difficult. But I'll work with Manchin and try, although I think it's a real uphill battle. Yes. Look, the House hasn't voted yet. The President has already said he'd veto it, so it's not going anywhere. Yes?
Your thoughts on the stakes of this election for the judiciary? What several more years of viewing President Biden look like versus if Trump comes back, especially with the Supreme Court justices, some of them getting up there in age?
There are a number of issues that are really important in the court, but number one would be women's health and choice. The lines between the parties and the nominees that each party has sent to the Supreme Court are clear, and it's going to be a major issue in the election. Yes.
On this immigration bill, if there's resistance again to passing it here, seems likely, is there anything you think President Biden should do on his own to address?
Well, I know if you just look even today, the president is doing some things by administrative action that deal with the border. He dealt with those ferries last week. He's changed some of the asylum rules so people wouldn't rail along. And I think you'll see him doing many other things.
Peter Schumer,
Yes.
do you support expelling Senator Menendez if he is convicted?
He's on trial, so I'm not going to comment. Last one.
Peter Schumer, do you support conditioning aid to Israel, and if so, what steps would you want to see from Israel in order to
I make 4 points in terms of the conflict in Gaza that have to be done. Hamas has to be radically reduced. Second, we got to try to save the hostages. Third, we got to try to minimize the number of casualties. And fourth, we got to maximize the amount of humanitarian aid that gets to the people in Gaza. Thank you. 98.